Bala Bala is a predominantly First Nations village. It's a fishing village on the outer central coast of British Columbia. It's about 1,400 people live here year-round. It's a pretty laid-back spot. There's a very strong sense of community here. Most people still have a really strong connection to our traditional resources and traditional occupations like fishing and clamming. What we want to do with the internship program is inspire young people, to empower them, to give them the sense that there are incredible tools at their disposal to be protecting the places they love, to give them a greater sense of connection to their territory, to help them build a stronger cultural identity by reconnecting them to our land base, and to encourage them to pursue careers in the sciences that will enable them to come back to our community someday and take on roles with our stewardship offices and land and resource management, and to really step up as leaders.
My name is Jamin LaValle, and I started out as a camper with Cucks probably about 10 years ago, and I've been continuing to come back every summer. Last summer I ended up applying for the Virtual Rainforest Initiative, and it was right up my alley because I'm going into biology and environmental studies.
We don't want to be pandering to these young people. We want them to feel like they're making legitimate contributions to the work we're doing, and so we have a really strong focus on training them as much as we can to the same level that our field technicians are working at, so they can really get a genuine experience of what it's like to be out in the field.
We'd spend probably about half the time out in Quay and half the time out on the outer coastal island called Goose Island. We did a lot of surveys. We did rock cod surveys, deer pellet surveys, crab surveys. We did a lot of ground truthing. I did a little booklet, kind of like a field guide, and it was probably about 20 to 30 plants that I did it on. And I went around Quay and Goose Island and I took pictures of the various plants I studied and learned their botanical name, their English name, and their Celtic name, and where you can find them, what their plant properties were, like the leaves and the berries that grew on them when they were in bloom. I also talked about the cultural uses of them and what Celtic people traditionally use them for.
What I learned about this past summer was, well, actually I known about it for a while, but it's licorice root, and it's a type of fern. It's a smaller fern though, and it usually grows on just underneath like moss and stuff, usually on trees. And we used to suck on the root, also dry it and make some tea out of it. And the reason why it's called licorice root is because it does actually taste like licorice. You can break a piece off and put it in your mouth, chew on it, and then suck the juices out of it.
I think it's incredibly important when you live in a place like the Great Bear Rainforest to have a really strong traditional perspective and a really strong Western scientific perspective in your work. The two are really intertwined here, just given the incredible ecological richness of the coast and given how strong our way of life still is. To incorporate both into your work is really to take a holistic perspective on how it is to live here and how it is to exist with our environment and to protect it and to protect who we are as a people. They're places of just unparalleled ecological integrity. Just the richness of the ecosystem here is absolutely incredible. But there's this really strong, deep cultural history here as well, with all of the village sites up the river and the artifacts that wash out of the banks and the canoe blanks the kids can find and the stories that are located here, both here and on Goose Island. It's just an incredible meeting of two different worlds that the kids are able to experience. You can really see in action all the ties between kind of the ecology and the culture coming together into something really beautiful. It's a really cool synergy. There's a really strong sense of family with the people who participate in our programs and the people who run them. And I think that's really contributed to the success that we've seen with a lot of our participants, is that we're all really invested in each other. I think we'd love to see this grow. We'd love to see this happening in other communities. I think all the communities on the coast are doing really important work in terms of land management and stewardship and protecting their cultural and natural resources. And finding a way to share this model of engaging youth more broadly is going to be a really strong goal for us. We want to see everybody able to engage youth in culture and nature in really important ways.